You walk into Sam's Club and it hits you before you even grab a cart. That smell. Warm butter, cinnamon, chocolate. The bakery is right there, glowing under the fluorescent lights like a shrine to everything you promised your doctor you'd stop eating. And you think, it's just a muffin. It's just one roll. How bad could it be? 55% of the average American's daily calories now come from ultra-processed foods. And the warehouse bakery is ground zero. These items aren't baked. They're engineered, centrally manufactured, frozen, shipped cross-country, and thawed on site. The label says, baked fresh daily. The chemistry says otherwise. Here's how bad. A single muffin from that bakery case contains more calories, more fat, and more sugar than a McDonald's Big Mac. One muffin, 710 calories, 46 grams of sugar, 11.5 teaspoons before 9 a.m. And that's not even the worst item they sell. Today, we bought all 12. We read every label, we did the math, and we're ranking them from absolute worst to the one item that's actually worth your money. Half of these aren't worth the calories. The other half might surprise you. Double chocolate muffins, dead last. The single most deceptive breakfast food sold in America. This is not a muffin. It's an unfrosted cake that weighs 167 grams. Over 3 times the size of a standard 1970s muffin. 710 calories, 39 grams of fat, 46 grams of sugar. That's 184% of the American Heart Association's daily limit for women. The ingredient list has over 30 components, including hydrogenated palm kernel oil, blue 1, red 40, aluminum sulfate, propylene glycol esters, and sodium propionate. A homemade chocolate muffin uses 7 ingredients. This one reads like a chemical manifest. For a 65-year-old woman on an 1,800-calorie budget, this single muffin consumes nearly 40% of her entire day. You'd need to walk for 169 minutes straight just to burn it off. That's almost 3 hours of continuous walking. For a muffin. Honeycrisp Apple Lattice Pie, 72 ounces, nearly 5 pounds of fruit and fat. The labeled serving is 1/16 of the pie. Nobody on earth eats 1/16 of a pie. A realistic eighth of a slice, 760 calories, 54 grams of sugar, that's 13.5 teaspoons, 216% of the AHA daily limit. The crust is made with palm oil instead of butter to slash costs, and the filling is pumped with modified food starch to create a uniform gel regardless of the apple's natural moisture. 180 minutes of walking to burn off one slice. Fudge brownie platter, 24 pre-cut squares of dietary sorrow, 520 calories per brownie, 53 grams of sugar, over 13 teaspoons. And here's the trick. There's no butter anywhere in this brownie. They replaced it entirely with soybean oil and palm oil, emulsified with polysorbate 60, a chemical commonly found in the cosmetics industry to keep liquid and oil from separating. Plus, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, and aluminum sulfate. A traditional brownie uses 5 ingredients. This one uses over 25. For seniors with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, the isolated fructose load here is directly hepatotoxic. At 87 cents each, you're paying for chocolate-flavored industrial spackle with a 2-week shelf life. Iced cinnamon rolls, 450 calories, 13 grams of saturated fat, 65% of your daily limit, almost entirely from palm oil and margarine. They use datum, an aggressive dough conditioner that artificially inflates volume so they can use less flour while making the roll look massive. These arrive frozen and are thawed in club. The label says baked fresh daily. Technically true, contextually deceptive. 27 grams of sugar per roll, and the icing is held together with xanthan and guar gums rather than actual cream cheese technique. We're only at number 9, and we've already hit 700 calories in a muffin, cosmetics chemicals in a brownie, and frozen dough sold as fresh baked. If you're reconsidering what you toss in the cart, hit subscribe. The next 8 items include some genuine surprises, and the number 1 pick at the end is genuinely worth your money. Tres Leches style cake. A traditional Latin American masterpiece tragically re-engineered with industrial chemicals. 570 calories per slice, 20 grams of saturated fat. That's 100% of some seniors' daily recommended limit. 52 grams of sugar. The whipped topping isn't real cream. It's water, high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated vegetable oil, and polysorbate 60 bound together into a slurry that refuses to melt at room temperature. The cake layers arrive pre-soaked in bulk cases and get assembled in-store. Authentic Tres Leches uses whole milk, condensed milk, and heavy cream. This version uses petroleum-adjacent substitutes that drive systemic inflammation and worsen osteoarthritis in older joints. Sweet cornbread mini loaves. This one is sneaky. It looks like a savory dinner side. It's labeled cornbread. A diabetic senior might logically pair it with soup or chili, assuming it's safe. It's not. The first ingredient, by weight, is sugar. Not cornmeal, sugar. Then inverted sugar. Then soybean oil. Then palm oil. 14 grams of hidden sugar per tiny loaf, plus 5 separate chemical preservatives and propylene glycol to keep it unnaturally moist for weeks. Reviewers nailed it. These are sweeter than cake. They're right, because it is cake, dressed as bread. Everything bagels. The hidden threat here isn't sugar, it's sodium. 550 milligrams in a single bare bagel. Add cream cheese and you're past 700 milligrams before you finished breakfast. For seniors on ACE inhibitors or diuretics for heart failure, that sodium load causes immediate fluid retention and dangerous blood pressure spikes. The bagels themselves skip the traditional boiling process entirely. They use monoglycerides and vital wheat gluten to fake the chewiness. Calcium propionate keeps them shelf-stable for over a week. Costco's bagels famously mold in 48 hours because they skip the preservatives. Sam's Club chose chemistry over purity. All right, that was the bottom half. 6 items that range from metabolic disaster to sodium bomb. Now the bakery gets interesting because the top 6 actually contain some genuine winners. Items where Sam's Club chose real ingredients over industrial shortcuts. Chocolate chunk cookies. The first item on this list made with real butter, not margarine, not palm oil, not soybean oil emulsified with cosmetics chemicals. Actual butter, dark brown sugar, real chocolate chunks, eggs. The ingredient list is remarkably close to homemade. 210 calories per cookie, manageable. 16 grams of sugar, not ideal, but honest. Baked fresh in club, they stale within days, which is actually a good sign. Real food expires. At 42 cents each, these are a perfectly acceptable occasional treat. Yeast dinner rolls. 110 calories, 2 grams of sugar, practically invisible metabolically. The problem? They still rely on datum and sodium stearoyl lactylate, industrial emulsifiers that emerging research links to gut lining damage and leaky gut in people with IBS or inflammatory conditions. For most seniors, these are a safe, cheap staple at 17 cents each. For those with sensitive digestive systems, the chemical dough conditioners are worth knowing about. Roasted garlic bread. Here's where it gets exciting. Read this ingredient list. Enriched wheat flour, water, garlic, salt, semolina, olive oil, yeast, malted barley flour. That's it. 0 flagged ingredients. 0 chemical emulsifiers. 0 preservatives. Real olive oil instead of cheap soybean oil. 0 grams of sugar. 140 calories per slice. This reads like something from an actual bakery, not a warehouse. The only caveat is 310 milligrams of sodium, so hypertensive patients should monitor portions. But metabolically, this is a near-perfect savory option. All butter sandwich croissants. Proof that mass production does not require chemical adulteration. The ingredients: enriched flour, butter, water, sugar, yeast, and salt. That's it. Real butter lamination. No margarine, no datum, no polysorbates, no preservatives. The ½ gram of trans fat is naturally occurring in dairy, not from hydrogenated industrial oils. 340 calories with only 4 grams of sugar. They stale within 48 hours, which proves they're actual food. 46 cents each. Costco's legendary butter croissants cost 50 cents. Sam's Club matches them, blow for blow, and wins on price. Artisan sourdough bread. Number 1, the undisputed champion. And the ingredient list says everything. Flour, water, naturally aged sourdough starter, and salt. 4 ingredients: 0 additives, 0 preservatives, 0 sugar, 0 fat. The natural fermentation breaks down phytic acid, making the nutrients in the wheat far more bioavailable. The lactic acid bacteria lower the glycemic index, giving you a gentle, rolling glucose response instead of a violent spike. That makes this exceptionally safe for diabetic seniors managing their blood sugar. 140 calories per slice, 5 grams of protein, pre-sliced for seniors with arthritis or limited hand dexterity. It will eventually mold, and that's a good thing. The natural acidity of the starter gives it legitimate, chemical-free shelf stability for several days. $3.96 for the whole loaf. This is what warehouse baking should be. Traditional food science scaled for a massive operation without sacrificing a single ingredient to industrial chemistry. Here's the rule. If the ingredient list is longer than a paragraph, put it back. If sugar is in the first 3 ingredients of something that isn't dessert, put it back. If you see DATEM, polysorbate 60, or sodium hexametaphosphate, put it back. The Sam's Club Bakery sells 6 items that range from metabolic disaster to silent sodium bomb, and 6 items that prove you can mass-produce real food at warehouse prices. If you're on metformin, that 700-calorie muffin with 84 grams of carbs completely overwhelms the drug's mechanism. If you're on blood pressure medication, that 550-milligram sodium bagel is sabotaging your prescription before lunch. The sourdough, the garlic bread, and the croissants belong in your cart. The muffins, the brownies, and the Tres Leches belong in a museum of industrial hubris. Shop the perimeter, respect the butter, read every label, and leave the 700-calorie muffins rotting beautifully on the palate.